So today's video is going to be a little bit different because today in this video I'm actually not going to set up a planter tank, which is weird because that's all I've been doing for the past 5 years or so, 6 years, with the exception of a few saltwater tanks of course. But today I'm kind of going back to my roots. I'm going to show you guys how I set up a cichlid tank. So for the past 5 years or so I've been making videos about freshwater aquascaping. But before I discovered aquascaping, I was just a regular fish keeper, and I was really into keeping dwarf cichlids. Actually, if you go to my channel and you look up the oldest videos, you will see clips from some of the cichlids that I used to keep. Fish like Bolivian rams, yellow convicts and dwarf flag acaras. And the reason I stopped keeping dwarf cichlids is simply just because I discovered aquascaping and I kind of really fell in love with those high-tech planter tanks. I still sometimes try to combine aquascaping with dwarf cichlids, but they don't always work well together. So that's why today we are taking a break from the high-tech planter tanks and instead we're going to set up a cichlid tank. Now regular viewers of the channel will probably remember the UNS 90B river that I made a while back. I really loved that layout and I kept it for a long time, but eventually it was time for something new. Now my dad is really into cichlids as well, and he just got a group of these African shell dwellers, the Neolamporologus multifasciatus to be exact. And when I saw them, I just fell in love with dwarf cichlids all over again. So today we're going to make a tank for these amazing little creatures. So this is the setup for today. We have a UNS 90B, which measures 90 centimeters from left to right, 20 centimeters front to back, and 25 centimeters tall. Basically a very narrow shallow tank, and it only holds around 45 liters or 11 US gallons. For the light, we have the Skylight Hyperbar, basically a very powerful light designed to grow plants. So for this setup, I will just keep it at a very low intensity. And for the filter, I'm going to use an external canister filter from JBL. So the fish that are going in here originate from Lake Tanganyika in Africa. So I watched some underwater footage of the lake to see what it looks like. And it's mostly just rocks and sand, but actually the parts of the lake where these shell dwellers live, it's basically just sand and shells and no rocks. Now I'm not trying to make a biotope here, and the idea of a tank with just sand and shells doesn't really speak to me, so I'm going to add in some rocks. I'm going to place the rocks directly onto the glass because the fish that are going in here like to dig. So I need to make sure that the rocks are stable and won't move. I played around with the rocks for some time, but eventually decided to keep it really simple with just 3 rocks. For the substrate I have these really cool so-called biotope beds from Rio. This is a really nice mix of sand, crushed shells and whole shells. It looks really natural, it's just a bit dusty. Now most of the shells that are in the substrate mix are too small for the cichlids, and I want to give them a lot of options, because not only do they use them for shelter, but also to lay eggs in. So I bought a lot of shells. Most people use escargot shells because they are good size and widely available. But I wanted to go for something different, and I found a nice selection in a home decoration store. Here's how the tank looked the next day after the water had cleared up. I really like how it turned out, and I think it looks quite natural as well. Now, the external canister filter on this tank was already full of cycled media, so a few days after setting up the tank, I went to pick up the inhabitants. The shell dwellers that my dad had been keeping were breeding, so he gave me 9 juveniles and 1 adult male. After acclimating, I released them into the tank, and they immediately disappeared into the shells. So for the first few days, I barely saw them, and I could only catch a glimpse of them during feeding time. I'm sure some people that are watching are thinking like, Mark, what's to like about these fish? There's no color of them, nothing, they're just tiny and gray. And it's true, these guys are not very colorful, but what I love about them is their behavior. That's what makes them so interesting. These guys will be busy all day moving sand around, building the territory and protecting their favorite shells. And before you know it, one day you will wake up, look inside the tank and see tiny cichlid babies swimming around. So I've actually set this tank up in September of 2024 and it is now June of 2025, so almost 8 months ago I guess. And like I said, when I got them they were still juveniles. They still haven't really reached adult size I guess. I think they're going to be 5 centimeters or like 2 inches. But they're now starting to form couples, some breeding is happening already, and I've already spotted the first baby, so that's super exciting. And you know guys, I love plants, so I couldn't resist to add some jungle val as well. It's not biotope correct, and I don't think there's jungle val in Lake Tanganyika, but I just love the green contrast with the grey rocks and the sand bed, you know. So of course they're a little bit shy right now because I don't usually sit so close to the tank. But I think at the moment we have 3 pairs. There's 1 pair living in this cave in between these 2 rocks. Then we have another pair over here. I think they just had babies. And I think I have another pair in this corner right here. But I think in total we actually have like sort of like 5 territories. So that right there is like a small territory for that pair. Then we have 2 more over here. I don't think they're a pair, but they're still quite small. So that's a territory. We have a pair over here, that's territory number 3, number 4, and there's also some fish from this side. So 5 territories in like a 90 centimeter aquarium. Like you can't really do that with any other cichlid, you know, but because these guys are so small, they're not aggressive at all, it just works really well. Another thing that's great about this setup is that it's super low maintenance. So in my studio I currently have, 10 plus tanks, and they're all pretty much high-tech planted tanks, so they require a lot of maintenance. But this one over here, nothing. I mean, I need to feed the fish, but that's about it. I've dialed in the light so I don't really get any algae. I mean, there's a little bit of algae on the rocks, but I think that just looks natural, you know. But yeah, maybe a water change once a month. That's about it. Yeah, so I think I currently have 2 pairs with babies. So the pair that's in between the 2 big rocks and the pair that's to the left of the middle rock, basically. If I just sit here and, sit still, I can see some tiny babies coming out of the shell. So super cool. So yeah guys, just something different, a little break from high-tech planted tanks, and we did a cichlid tank instead. I'm really happy with it, I'm really enjoying this tank, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it as well. As always, thanks for watching, see you in the next one.